On a very short and hopefully very sweet episode of Golden Days, I'm going to recap and review who exactly is on the Warriors roster. There's been a discussion out there that I've caught a whiff of regarding who's actually making this team. 15 players is the max you can put on an NBA roster. Who are those 15 right now? While we wait for hopefully a big deal to come down. Mike Lowry Markkinen. That's the dream. That's the hope. But as of right now, he's not on the team. So who is? Let's break it down next. And then in just a moment, we're going to switch gears and launch an episode of The Rick Barry Show with Hall of Famer Rick Barry. I'll get into how you can join us live for that. The recording will be right here on this channel. But let's talk about the Warriors roster. Who's on this damn team? Let's break it down. This is the Golden Days.
That is it for us today, and we will leave you with a... I can't do it. We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! And things suck! Woo! Let's go!
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. Cause I get what I want and I like what I see. Everywhere.
When you hear that music, think of the word golden. Think of the word days. Golden days. Hey now, how is it going, everybody? I'm Cyrus Saatsaz, the host of this program. You can follow me on Threads. Get this thing straightened out here. You can follow me on Instagram at Dog Wild, and I'm over on that cesspool of an excuse for a decent social media platform, Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days. I'm there as well at Surf Journalist if you want to engage, but I'm not there often. So if you want to reach out to me, if you want me to actually read whatever it is you want me to read, tag me, DM me on Threads or Instagram. How the hell is everyone doing? Alan Elizer, is that how you pronounce your last name? Saying what's up? Let's go Dubs, right back at you. Douglas Mikes saying X is awesome. Yeah, so is 4chan, I guess, by your reasoning. No, X is not awesome. Anything where you can just write whatever the hell you want, objectivity, factual accuracy be damned. No, I'm not going to say that's awesome. Stephen Lang in the chat saying finally here for a live show. Let's go. Here's the thing. This is going to be a very short show. In about 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to be jumping on my phone, this little thing right here, because Hall of Famer Rick Barry and I, we host live episodes of the Rick Barry Show on what's called the Mic'd Up app. And one of the beautiful things about that program is Rick and I play your audio recordings if you upload them. Man, Douglas Mice, look at you. So look at you bringing up the freedom of speech thing. Yeah, so I guess you're just perfectly okay with just saying whatever dumb, inaccurate, untrue things are on your mind, but to you, that's all that matters, right? Never mind the horribly negative implications of propaganda and how much it influences society for the bad, and I guess sometimes the good. I'm not against freedom of speech, but I'm also against literal lies and propaganda and half-truths. And here's the problem, Douglas Mike, saying, yeah, let dumb people expose themselves. The problem is, if you don't have fact checkers, how do you know who the dumb people are? How do you know what's true and what's not? You're putting a little too much faith in humanity, my friend. Anyway, so let's talk about the Warriors real fast here, because there's some chat, there's some discussion, some chatter out there about who exactly is making this team right now. And I showed this graphic on a previous show regarding the current roster. And let me adjust how I look here real fast. There we go. This is the best I can do for now. This is, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is the graphic that shows 12 of the 15 Golden State Warriors roster positions filled up. All right. So Stephen Curry's an obvious one. Brandon Pajemski, Buddy Hield, Gary Payton II, DeAnthony Melton, Moses Moody as of right now. And I really pity Moses Moody because this is a kid who can play, but he has a coach who just has no faith in him. And so I really do hope he's traded just for his sake. I digress. Kyle Anderson, a.k.a. Slow-Mo, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, Kevon Looney, and Trace Jackson Davis. Those are 12 of the 15 maximum slots for the Golden State Warriors. Now, Douglas Mikes then asks, is Lindy Waters on the roster guaranteed? Yes. That is a guaranteed contract that OKC extended to him last year. So when the Warriors made that trade, he's number 13. You're absolutely correct. Now, Zero brings up, and this is where it starts getting a little tricky, Quentin Post. This is a player who the Warriors spent their number 53 draft pick to acquire from the Boston College. That's who he played for last year, played 4 years there. And the thing with second round draft picks, and this is why Trace Jackson Davis fell as far as he did last year. Most teams do not like offering guaranteed contracts to second round picks. Trace Jackson Davis's representatives let every team know in the draft last year, do not pick me if you're not going to give me a guaranteed deal. It scared teams away. Did not scare, thankfully, the Golden State Warriors away. They knew what they were getting with them. And so they were like, we'll give you a guaranteed deal. Come on over. And they did. So with Quentin Post, that's the conundrum. He does not have a guaranteed deal right now. There's been some speculation that maybe the Warriors, what they like to do is give him a two-way deal, which is much more customary with second-round picks. But as of right now, they've got all three of those slots filled, right? So with Lindy Waters, you have 13 spots guaranteed. Now, Guy Santos makes 14. And this is where it's going to start getting very tricky. Because as of right now, if you want to offer that number 15 to Quentin Post, it's there. And I would guess that's what they want to do. But if you offer him a guaranteed deal, now you're maxed out. Now you can't explore anyone else. And maybe that's not a bad thing. But that is the quick conundrum that the Golden State Warriors face. And I'm still bummed out that the team moved on from Lester Quinones. I thought he could actually play, but he's not making this final roster. So as of right now, what's likely going to happen, because the Warriors have 3 two-way players signed right now. Pat Spencer, right, who I can't imagine him ever getting a guaranteed deal. I could be wrong on that. That's just me spitballing. And he's an awesome two-way player. I mean, the kid has his moments. I have nothing bad to say about Pat Spencer. And side note, I play college lacrosse, so I have a little affinity for the fact that the dude is an incredible lacrosse player. I was a midi once upon a time for Humboldt State University, the Lumberjacks. They now call themselves Cal Poly Humboldt. Anyway, so Pat Spencer's got one of those two-way spots. You got Reese Beekman, a 2-time ACC Defensive Player of the Year on the roster, taking up that second two-way slot. And from what I've seen in Summer League from this kid, love him. When you're talking about who can someday replace Gary Payton II, that's a candidate, folks. But then again, I also thought that way about Quindary Weatherspoon, and who knows what he's up to now. And yeah, G Martinez saying, this is, and side note, by the way, this has always been like from the moment I started working in sports media back when I was 20, 21 years old. And if you care about my background, that's how I got into this. I was an intern at KNBR while I was still in college. And one of the first things that really stuck out to me, and this is dating way back, this is like 1999, 2000, was, damn, there were not a lot of athletes covering athletics. And I've always prided myself on at least trying to be athletic, right? I mean, obviously I'm 5'10". I'm never going to be anything professional, but and the Traveling Arquitez bringing up the fact that you just met Jonathan Kuminga at Summer League. That is awesome. I would public, you know what, here, we got a few minutes. I want to make this available. If you want to come on the show, Arquitez, and share your experience, the link is in the chat right now. I would love to hear about that. If you missed the cut yesterday, the clip from Stephen Curry's new podcast that I played, supposedly, and again, we don't know when that was recorded, but supposedly Kuminga and Steph are playing together. They're playing pickup ball in the summer. That's awesome. You know, those two developing chemistry is vitally important for how the Warriors play this year and whether or not they succeed. So Urquidez, jump on the show, man. Please jump in. And Stephen Lang, you're absolutely right that Pat Spencer is known as the best lacrosse player ever. Side note: Jim Brown, the former football legend, Hollywood legend, was also um, a lacrosse player, supposedly. Traveling Urquidez saying that Jonathan Kuminga is more shy than you thought. Yeah, he's a very quiet individual. I don't know what his personality type is, but he seems to be more on the introverted side. From my personal experience with him. KB Batista, by the way, saying good afternoon. Good afternoon, right back to you. So, and I'm reading, someone else is asking in the chat, where is that? Oh, here, Douglas Mikes again, writing that you've heard the reason why they can't give Quinn Post a roster spot is because they can't stay under the hard cap. And there is some truth to that, because right now they're $500,000 under the first apron, which is their hard cap. The moment they did a sign and trade, they got a hard cap for their first apron, which is approximately $178 million. You are correct. At this moment in time, they cannot, because I don't think they can, because the absolute minimum for Quentin Post is going to be close to $1 million. So I think that's all they could offer at the moment is a two-way spot. They will own his rights regardless. But for a team that's thirsty for size, that is desperate for some height out there, never mind the fact that a stretch big like Quentin Post is exactly what the Warriors need. But if you make him a two-way player, if you don't give him that guaranteed deal, and maybe I'm looking too far ahead, he can't play in the postseason. He's limited by the number of games he could play in the regular season. And if you give him that two-way spot, which as of right now, Douglas, you are correct, they don't have enough cap space. Then Daquan Plowden, who's been one of the success stories of Summer League, he's got to go. And hopefully he'll agree to a contract in Santa Cruz, but he'll be a free agent. Anyone can sign him. Or you have to move on from Pat Spencer, or you have to move on from Reese Beekman. That is the conundrum that they find themselves at. Traveling Urquidez, let's bring you on the show, brother. How you doing, man? Let me get this graphic out of the way. So you were in Vegas. Did you get back? Are you still out there? Like, where are you right now? I can't hear you, brother. You got to turn your mic on.
My apologies there, brother.
No, you're good.
Yeah, we go every year. I take the kids. We do 5 days of Summer League. We've been doing it for the last 5 years. We absolutely love it. I have 3 girls, 12, 10, and 5. So that's why you see the traveling Urquidez. We travel around the world.
Nice.
It was a great time. Ran into Kuminga. This is funny. So they were at the area, and I have a Kuminga jersey, right? And me and my buddy Jeff, who used to play ball, D1 ball, he looks like Jaylen Brown. So it's funny. We were walking through the area, and I had my Kuminga jersey on, and he's like, "Hey, isn't that your boy?" And I turn around, and it's Kuminga, and he sees me. And the funny thing, he sees my jersey, and he points. He goes, and I was like, "Hey, good to meet with you." And you know what it was? He looked like a 19-year-old kid. You know, you forget how young these guys are. So I'm just like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's funny because I called him. I said, "Monsieur Kuminga." That's what I said. I said, "Monsieur Kuminga, how are you?" And he said, "Oh, bonjour." You know, but very quiet, very reserved. But man, he is big. He is a lot bigger than you think he is.
Yes, he is. That stuck out to me too when I first saw him in person. Was like, and that is one of the few benefits of being in person. I don't know if you agree with me or not. Like, anytime I get a credential to go to a game, I don't sit in the media seats, because to me you can see the action way better on a TV. So I'm usually hiding out in the media area where they serve food and stuff. Like, not even within eyesight of the court, just because I can see it better. But with that said, being in person, you also, when you see these individuals in real time, you get a much better perspective in terms of their size, their physicality. Like, I remember when I saw Patrick Baldwin Jr. 2 years ago in person, I was like, damn, that's a big dude. That is a huge individual, and his shooting stroke was exemplary. And I saw immediately the appeal for drafting him. Of course, that did not work out at all. And the same thing applied for Jonathan Kuminga. The guy is big. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to add that tidbit. Go ahead. No,
you're great. We sat down. We were sitting there. I talked to him for a good 5 minutes. He was very nice, very shy. He was just like, yeah, you know, very, very quiet like this. He'd be like, yeah, that's really cool, like a very kind of soft voice. But, you know, I asked him, I said, you know, what do you think this year? And he said he's been working really hard with Steph. He doesn't think he's going to get traded.
I don't think so. Yeah.
He's really excited for this year. I think this is his. I think from the conversation we had, I think he feels like this is the year he gets playing time, and I think he's really excited to show what he can do. That's what I took away from it. I really do, and I laughed. I was like, I see you as a 25-10 guy, and he laughed. He goes, "Yeah," and I was like, "But you got to work on those rebounds." He laughed. He goes, "I know." So he's a very nice
you
guy.
actually said that to him, and he laughed at all.
Yeah, I said it kidding, but he was a great guy. I'd say Summer League was fantastic. Some of the takeaways we took away. A lot of people don't think the Warriors have a window. I talked to a lot of people, and you're there and you're able to sit with I'll sit with Tony Delk. There's a lot of agents there, and we were there for Bronny's. Speaking of Bronny is not an NBA player. I'm sorry. That kid looked as tall as me. I'm 5'11", and I was like, "Holy,
wow,
okay. Tiny. He looks tiny. If he's 6'1", he's barely scraping it." But a lot of the agents we talked to were like, the Warriors season's done. The window is closed. And so a lot of people were saying, is this Steph's final year in Golden State? Because they just don't see a way how he's going to win a title, or he's just going to, finish it out for the next 2 years. Very interesting. A lot of people's takes, but nobody thought the Warriors are even close to a championship.
Right now, I don't think so either. I think right now they're worse than they were a year ago. I still don't know. I mean, look, and this is why you don't trade the farm. When I say the farm, I mean like Kuminga, Podziemski, and et cetera. Is the reason why you don't trade them for, let's say, hypothetically in this scenario, Lowry Markkanen, is let's say you make that trade and then Steph, who's 36 going on 37, gets injured. What if Draymond gets injured? Like, you're screwed under that scenario, man. Like that's why you need these young players to at least have hope, man, to give you something to look forward to for that next phase. Whereas if you give up Kuminga and Pods, I mean, I single those two out as the marquee individuals with the most value. What do you have left if Steph gets hurt? And I've reported before on this show that, a close source of mine with the Warriors, he really thinks this is Steph's final 2 years, man. Like, and so you're saying that are you getting that vibe from Summer League as well, from people, like from the people you spoke with? Like, they think this is Steph's final run with the Warriors?
Yeah, I think there was a couple agents sitting behind me. When you go to Summer League, which is great. If you haven't been to Summer League, take your family and go. It's the best ticket in town.
It's changed though, man. I went there in 2011, and it was not like it is now, dude.
No. This year was a little bit tame. I think it's because most of the stars are an Olympic team, so they didn't do NBA Con this year. But next year is supposed to be really good because Cooper Flagg he was the big talk. Cooper Flagg, #1 pick next year, and there's 3 or 4 other people. But some of the agents that we were talking to regarding the Warriors and Steph is he going to make it to the trade deadline? So a lot of people were like, if the Warriors get off to a bad start and there's no future, do you trade him and try to get picks at the deadline, or you do wait till the following year? So that was kind of a lot of the conversation, because everybody's like, Steph is amazing, but is he amazing on the Warriors? I don't know.
What are your thoughts on that, Urquidez? If you're like, do you even entertain the idea of trading Stephen Curry? Like, that's not a thought that's going to cross my mind. But what do you think?
I'm opposite. I would trade Steph. Last year I would have let Dre walk, or I would have traded him to Detroit. There's a lot of really good teams that are young. So the problem I see with the Warriors is we're very young. We're old, right? We have these old people and these young people, but that's really not our problem. The problem is the West is young and they're getting better. I mean, Wemby's coming, Denver's coming, Minnesota's coming, Houston's coming. Shepherd looked amazing out there. So there's a lot of teams. It's not like we need 1 or 2 players to get over the hump. We need a whole new team. I mean, and I love Steph, but I love Montana too, and I loved Rice too. And if it were me and I was the GM, I would trade Steph and try to get a haul. And I would call Pressey at Oklahoma City, and I would say, how would you like to get Steph Curry on Oklahoma City? Give me all those wonderful draft picks you got and try to get Steph another title with Oklahoma City is what I would do. And I would go after Cooper Flagg, and I would go after those people and build with Moody, JK, Podziemski. Maybe you get Cooper Rush next year or Cooper Flagg next year. There's I think they're talking 6 deep next year's draft.
Yeah, the next year, and we'll get into that at some point. I'm trying to get Kristen Peak on the program, who, to me, of all the evaluators out there, of all the individuals who make these mock drafts, she is #1. Like, she rarely, if ever, misses. I trust her analysis. I'm going to hopefully get her on to talk about that and so much more. But look, I don't disagree with your logic, and I got to run here, man. If you don't, I'm sorry to cut this short or wrap it up, but I don't disagree with your logic, man. I would have had no problem letting go or trading Draymond Green. I have no sentimentality for Klay Thompson moving on. Steph is just, he's so special, dude. Like I don't want to see him in another uniform, but at the same time, I'm not going to argue with you about it because you're right. If success is the goal, and it should be, man, in competitive sports, like you got to be forward thinking. You got to think not just in the present, but ahead. And Steph has a shitload of value right now, dude. You can get a lot for him. At the same time, it's just for some reason the idea of seeing him, even if it's the Charlotte Hornets, I don't like the idea of that, man. To me, he's a Warrior for life. But at the same time, I thought that way about Joe Montana too. And then Steve Young came in, and I loved Steve. So we'll see, man. Anything else you want to mention before I move on? I'm waiting for Rick Barry to get to make an appearance so we can switch over to the Mic'd Up app and start the Rick Barry show. But anything else on your mind, Urquidez, before we bid adieu?
I just want to say it's so refreshing to see you back on. When you weren't on the other platform and I looked for you, I couldn't find you. I was bummed. I thought that you just quit. So when I saw you on this new platform, I'm very happy for you.
Thanks, man.
I was talking to a couple podcasters out there, so I wish you all the best. And I'm a huge fan. Looking forward to more content.
Come join me again soon, okay? When we have more time, please.
You got it. All right.
And I always love what you provide in the chat, brother. Thank you so much, man. Thank you. Thanks for sharing those. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but thank you so much for the insights and just Summer League. Look, Summer League again. It's so different now. Like when I went in 2011, and I went like right when it started to get better. I mean, Summer League used to be just this desolate landscape. I mean, we're talking like the wastelands of NBA action, dude. Like it was as sad of a scene as you could picture in Vegas, dude. Like the $5 hookers, like degenerate gamblers. Like you did not see former players roaming the stands. It was empty. It was depressing. You could smell cigarettes in that arena, and it's night and day to what it is now. Now it's like it's classed up. Like Urquidez just mentioned, you see all this talent showing up, and between players, agents are negotiating big time there. Executives are hobnobbing. So it is night and day from what it was to what it is now. Anyway, yeah. And as Zero says, the format's also changed for Summer League big time. So yeah, it's a scene, man. And one thing, someone in the chat brought up Reese Beekman in terms of why he hasn't been playing. The best I found from my research is that he's dealing with some sort of nagging injury, nothing serious. But we have people who are fans of his from Virginia who have been reaching out to media asking, where the hell is he, man? Like, we want to see him play for the Warriors. And he's apparently it's some sort of small nagging injury that's not reported. But that seems to be the case in terms of why. And then Guy Santos is an individual I saw in the chat in terms of a player that the team can move on from. But again, his deal, from my understanding, is it's guaranteed as well. So you can't just cut him and then fall below the salary cap. You got to make some deals. So as of right now, yeah, Quinton Post they can't give him a guaranteed contract. At the moment, the best you can do with them is a two-way deal. And we'll see what happens. That's the long story short of this logjam that the Warriors have with the roster, not just the logjam with guards and wings. I mean, that's a whole other beast. And we covered that on yesterday's show with Larry Krueger quite a bit. But they've got a logjam in terms of the actual roster. I mean, they've got 15 dudes right now signed, or 14 dudes, signed, but they have no cap space for a 15th. And Quinton Post is there. Anyways, I hear my friend, my colleague, one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA, Rick Barry. So if you want to continue this party, all right, join the Mic'd Up app. And if you're watching this on YouTube right now, I'm gonna quickly because visuals always help or usually help. So even though it's very simple, Mic'd Up, MIC''D, followed by the word up. If you download that app, we'll even play the audio recordings during the show. So if you watch Rick and I having a discussion and you're thinking to yourself, I need to throw in some of my own insights, you could literally upload that recording. We'll play it on the show and hopefully have a good time. So join us there. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up here. Paul McCaffrey, a.k.a. Paulie McCaffrey, not a.k.a. Paulie McCaffrey. That was redundant. A.k.a. Paulie Mac, formerly of the Murph and Mac Show. He's going to join me tomorrow at 1 p.m. We're going to go live. So if you want to join us, you can. Otherwise, join the party with the Mic'd Up app. Download that. Rick and I are going to be starting the Rick Barry Show right now. Otherwise, have a great rest of the day, and we'll be back soon. Bye-bye. Mic'd up. Bye-bye.